Nightwing number 5, written by Kyle Higgins, art by Eddie Barrows. We had last issue be a one and done, more or less, where Nightwing crossed over with Batgirl. And at the very end of the issue, he realized what the heart of the circus was and got a book with a bunch of old names. And on the last page, or on one of the last pages, was his name. This issue is, once again, just like another one and done. I don't know why they're doing this, but regardless, it picks up in a graveyard where a woman is, like, sacrificing or calling to spirits or whatever. And some lightning strikes and a demon pops out of this grave and only speaks in rhyme, which I guess, sure, whatever. And apparently the woman's name is Zona. The demon's name is Asheron, and Asheron's like, all right, you summoned me, what do you want? And Zona says how she wants the demon to go get somebody and bring him to her. So then we cut over to Dick Grayson. Apparently this is all happening in Louisiana, New Orleans specifically, and he's on a motorcycle after doing some Nightwing stuff, I guess, and he is passing by the train that holds all of the carnival stuff, or the circus stuff, and apparently he memorized like every state's railroad routes and the roads that run parallel and over top of the trains so that he's able to like get on them, which seems ridiculous to me, but regardless, he jumps into the train, his personal like storage train on the or the personal storage car on the train, and he just recaps everything that's happened over the past few issues. And then he's like, all right, so Raya has been ignoring me for like a week now because of Barbara being around that one time, I guess, though I don't quite understand why. And also, the son of Mr. Haley, Brian, hates me for stealing the circus from him. So that's about as bad as it gets. And then we meet up with Jimmy the Clown, who apparently has been given notes saying that, oh, we're supposed to be together, Jimmy. We're supposed to be together forever. And so Raya comes up and is like, hey, Jimmy, you look whiter than usual. And he's like, mind your own business. And someone comes up and says that Mark comes up and says that the ground is too soft to set up the big tent, so they need to lay down some cement, and someone needs to go talk to Dick in order to get his permission. So Raya is shafted off to do it, even though she doesn't want to talk to him. Dick's apparently been having nightmares ever since he met up with Zane of basically one of the last times that he saw his parents, which was also when he was rehearsing the opening ceremonies of the show with Raymond, who also, I guess, has bad memories, well, with the being dead and all. So then there's a knock at the door. He wakes up, and Raya's there, and he, of course, gives permission for the cement thing, and he's like, so is there anything else you want to talk about? Like, maybe us? Maybe we could, I don't know, keep doing the whole making out thing we were doing before? And, you know, he says it with more charm, and she basically smiles and says, like, okay, fine, we'll go out to dinner after the show. So the show goes on. We see her doing her trapeze act, and Dick's watching from the ground, but Jimmy is sweating profusely. And Dick's like, hey, you doing all right, Jimmy? He's like, yeah, I just could use some water, you know. And he's like, all right, well, I'll go get you some water. So then, as Dick walks away, the giant demon shows up, grabs Jimmy, and knocks him out. And then Dick comes up and he's like, hey, leave him alone. Hits him with a chair and is, of course, just batted away because it's a demon. The demon starts running through the woods behind the circus, which I guess is just a thing. And Dick's like, all right, well, guess I'm going to have to deal with this now. So he drives off. He uses heat tracking in order to track the demon, but it turns out it's actually leaving like a path of cold instead of a path of heat, which is weird considering how much rampage is going on. But then we go back. It's at the graveyard that we opened with. Jimmy is bound up to a grave with the demon like over top of him, and Zona shows up and is like, Jimmy, I told you we belong together, and I summoned this demon using my old family magic in order to bring you here. And Jimmy's like, you are totally crazy. This is why this wouldn't have worked. But she pulls out a ring and apparently is going to bind their souls together forever, whatever that means. Nightwing, of course, jumps in, knocks the ring out of her finger, starts trying to beat up the demon, which doesn't go so well. He's more or less just being chased around by it. and trying to evade it. Zona gets back the ring, sets back up the spell or whatever. Nightwing comes to the conclusion that there's this crest, the symbol on the top of the grave, and that must be the key to everything that's going on. So he, in the last second, jumps out of the demon's grasp, leads it over to the grave, and as the demon's charging at him, he jumps out of the way, and the demon crashes into the crest, destroying the everything, and all the magic stops. Zona starts running away, but Nightwing grabs her, and then just talks with Jimmy and is like, "Hey, you Mr. Clown Man I'm unfamiliar with, what was that all about?" And she's just like, "Dude, I don't even know. Like, she's got her own stuff." And he's like, "Right, well, bye." So he leaves, and Jimmy's just looking sad at his crazy ex-girlfriend. And then we cut to the next day, and we see Jimmy is staring down a sewer grate, and Dick's like, "Hey, where were you last night? You kind of just ran off during the show." And Jimmy's like, "Yeah, sorry. Look, there's some stuff that's I left behind me, and just make sure that the stuff you leave behind you is kept behind you. You know, some things are worth burying." And he tosses the ring down into the sewer grate. And then the final page reveal is Psycho is talking to Raya, and we see basically the big reveal is that Psycho is actually a resurrected or something Raymond. And him and Raya are making out, and apparently the big thing that they have to do is get the circus back to Gotham again so that they can finally kill Dick Grayson. And that's the thing. Finally, everything on one page with zero build-up is just like, oh yes, here's who the villain is, here's who is betraying Nightwing, and here's what their big plan is. Okay, sure, yeah. I gotta be honest, I don't particularly care, like, either way for the main story of the demon thing. Like, it's really, really weird that Nightwing is dealing with that. And there's even a whole page in here where he explicitly says, like, this is really far out of my wheelhouse, and I don't know why I'm dealing with this. But that's whatever. It's an okay story. It's not great. And they did set it up in the last issue with Jimmy getting a note there as well. So it's at least a little bit seeded. My big thing is the fact that the big reveal happens on that last page with nothing leading up to it at all. And, like, that's an arc thing as well. I guess you could say the same is true for the last issue, but that was he found the book. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know anything about that. This is like the whole of everything is revealed on a one page with no build up. I'm not a big fan on that. So overall, I'm going to give this one a 6, and mostly it's there because of the art. The writing wise, like I said, the main story, average, and it's brought down by that last part. So the only reason it's still at a 6 and not like a 5 or a 5.5 is because of the art genuinely being pretty good throughout. So yeah, that's disappointing, but it can only go up from there.